end. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome everyone to the Temple of Speed, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, as ASRL takes on the legendary combined circuit here in Italy. First opened in 1922, Monza is one of the fastest and most historic venues in all of motorsport, where slipstream battles, late braking into heavy chicanes, and razor-thin margins define the racing. The combined layout adds an extra layer of challenge, blending high-speed commitment with technical rhythm through the infield sections, rewarding drivers who can balance aggression with precision. Tonight, momentum, draft strategy, and clean exits onto Monza's long straights will be the keys to victory. Settle in, because when the lights go out at Monza, the racing is always flat out. Joining with me in the broadcast booth today is going to be Alex Goldschmidt. Alex Goldschmidt, thank you very much for joining me tonight. How are you feeling this warm and sunny day here in Italy?
Well, the National Park of Monza is always a pleasure to be here alongside with you in the broadcast booth. Sagar Bakshi, of course, this circuit, the third oldest motorsport venue in history since the opening of the defunct Brooklands, and of course the famed Brickyard. You can't forget about good old Indianapolis. But yeah, this is going to be a really, really long stretch for all our drivers, with speeds over 200 miles per hour in the C7 Daytona prototypes. And then of course we've got the GT3s, which will be topping out at about 185. So it is a case of it's the roller coaster ride here in Italy.
Absolutely. It's going to be a roller coaster ride thanks to Apex Sim Racing. Thank you very much to their sponsorship. For all your sim racing needs, make sure you check out apexsimracing.com. Taking a look at our calendar, we're already into week 9. Week 10 coming up on April 1st. We'll round things out at Sebring International to finish out this amazing championship that started so long ago. Now, let's look at the championship points as well. In the GT3, it's Keon Maduro with 356, Corey Rutherford with 299, so it's still up for grabs. Victor Aldrich, Daniel Miglin, Ty Morasco, Nidikume, Kenneth Estep, Mike Hamlin. In the C7s, it's Christopher Hill, Damian Dania not too far back, Brian Dees, James Watson, Travis Fleming, Joshua Rutherford, Brody Gunther, and Dave Seats. For the teams, it's Team Watson Racing leading, but it's not too far back, just 1 point away for the Work in Progress team with 532. TWR SJ Division is with 512, MFRD, Team Fastish, ESGI, JK Racing, and then Limitless Motorsports with 128 points will round it out. Like we've hinted at, like we've noted, we're at the Monza circuit, but we're doing the combined layout, folks. So it adds a little bit of trickery. It was a track length of 3.6 miles, now elongated to 6.214 miles. It was founded in 1922. It's been the current layout, at least the GP layout, since 2000. We are located in Monza, Italy. We used to have 11 turns, 4 to the left, 7 to the right. Now we're facing way more than that when you add the 4 at the oval. 43 feet of elevation change, not too much to bark at there, with a barking 3/4 mile long straightaway, and your full throttle for about 85% of this lap. Now, where are the drivers faring in the qualifying session so far? Damian Dania leads us right now at the top of the charts, 3/10, 4/10, nearly the margin. And then Christopher Hill, James Watson, Brian Dees in tow. Joshua Rutherford trails in P6. Keon Maduro does what we'd expect him to do and leads us here in the GT3 category. Victor Aldrich in P2 with Corey Rutherford in third. Looks like Daniel Miglin, Ken Estep, Nidek Kume, and a few other drivers are all out there right now.
Yeah, seeing at the moment, Sagar, that a couple of drivers have been unable to secure lap times by exceeding track limits, as we see one there from Ken Estep in the 66 Ferrari 296 GT3 going out of the opening of the two Lesmos at the top left corner of the circuit. Corey Mitchell trying to do his best, has just come across the stripe. And let's see if the number 263 does put in a lap time. It's a 2:37.249, which is 2.5 seconds off the pace that Damian Dania has put in the number 98. Joshua Rutherford has ended up hitting the wall somewhere, so has unfortunately got on the meatball flag, which means he needs to tow that C7 Daytona Prototype back to pit lane. Brody Gunter has also been off, so has Corey Rutherford. This is a very, very tricky circuit to get right, especially with it being 6.241 miles rather than the 3.6. So we're doubling the race distance in terms of the total amount of distance that you've got to go on this lap. Nidek Kume, in the meantime, has jumped up to second in the GT3s, just under 6/10 off of Keon Maduro in the number 188 Ford Mustang, but still there's only about 10 seconds left in qualifying. But I think it's going to be the old oval banking, which is very, very steep, as you can see there, with Nidek Kume in the number 151 Ferrari, who comes to a halt, aborts his final lap in qualifying. And thereby, that sees the checkered coming out for the session.
Beautiful running for all the drivers. That'll spit us out into our starting order. Let's go ahead and run down the grid, shall we? In P1, it'll be Damian Dania next to Brody Gunter, Christopher Hill, James Watson, Brian Dees, Travis Fleming, Joshua Rutherford in P7 with Corey Mitchell alongside. Keon Maduro and Nidek Kume round out the top 10. Then it'll be Victor Aldrich, Corey Rutherford, Daniel Miglin, and Ken Estep to finish up the starting order.
All I can say is, Sagar, is with this circuit, this is going to be absolutely awesome. And of course, we have got that double race format here tonight, haven't we?
Absolutely. We have two heats coming at you. Heat 1 and then the feature race following that. We'll expect the drivers to come down pit road for some service of some kind. So it brings out some excitement and some changes to what you typically see in some road racing circuits. The guys here at ASRL have done a wonderful job to create a unique and exciting championship. Stay tuned, folks. We're in for a treat here with ASRL, brought to you by the Racers Nexus. Don't go anywhere. The race is about to begin.
This is one of the things about the allure of this circuit, Sagar, whereby We all know that the drivers are going to have their heads on a swivel. It is going to be full throttle, like you said, for 85% of the lap. And when they get to that old banking, which this year I definitely have told myself, along with some of the team that do the broadcasting for Porsche Schwarzkopf Suisse, which will head to the traditional Grand Prix layout for its second round on the opening May weekend. They have told me you've got to go and try and go up that banking. It is incredibly steep, but then when they go over that old asphalt, it is going to be bumpy, it is going to be undulating. I have seen on previous races it has gone 3 wide here on High Racing, and I wonder if we're going to get the same here tonight in both races here at the Temple of Speed.
You can only expect great things here with such a great grid of drivers performing at their absolute best. Right now, it'll be Dania controlling the field. Let's see how he does, and when the green flag will drop, we'll begin our race. And it's green, green, green from the word go. And now we are leading down and towards the most dangerous corner in all of motorsports, turn 1, but this time it's going to be towards the high banking. This time around, using the beautiful chopper cam to get a glimpse. We're 3 wide in the background, with Christopher Hill getting sandwiched with Travis Fleming, Joshua Rutherford, and drivers are banging up against the barriers at the steepest and fastest part of the racetrack already.
James Watson has gone to the high side early, and he's got the jump on everybody as we go into turn 2. It is still 3 wide for the front of the field. Brody Gunter threading the eye of the needle in between Damien Dania and James Watson. Looks like he's losing a lot of momentum as Christopher Hill is bumping over the curbs as we go over the traditional start-finish stretch and down in towards a very fast part of the circuit. They are topping out at over 200 miles an hour, and then nearly 4 wide going into the braking zone for the Retafili, and to the outside goes Gunter on Dania. That's a bold move, but he makes it work.
Gunter made a great move, and that one stuck, but for how long will it stick? Kyo Maduro still leads us now in front of Nidikume in P2 by half a second. Not so fair for the GT3s as it was for the C7 Daytona prototypes. Coming into the first chicane, the second chicane here at Monza. This would be the Variante della Roggia that we're headed to. Christopher Hill closing down the gap on Joshua Rutherford, kicking up a little bit of pocket sand in the background right now.
It looks like Ken Estep has had a big drama in the 66. He was just off track, and one of the drivers definitely finding the kitty litter as we're seeing a battle here between Christopher Hill, who's just slingshotting in towards Ascari and has got through on Joshua Rutherford. That's for P3. Meantime, Gunter and Dania are running away at the moment as big old run wide coming out of Ascari by James Watson in the Team Watson number 39 C7 Daytona prototype. And then we're going to try, there was an attempt there by Brian Dees for MFRD trying to go through, but Corey Mitchell runs wide coming out of Parabolica Alboreto, as it's now called, after the late Ferrari Formula 1 driver and Audi Sport Le Mans prototype driver Michele Alboreto, who the corner was named after following on from his passing. But Gunter and Dania go with a big lick of speed. They've got a 1.75 second advantage over Christopher Hill for Team Watson Racing, and look at the speed that James Watson has got, and there's been a pass for the lead because Brody Gunter has just been passed by Damien Dania on the outside on the backstretch heading into what is turn 3. Daniel Miglin in the number 4 Acura NSX GT3 has ended up in pit road, but Gunter back into the race lead as we go through turn 3. Look at the speed they are carrying. These guys are on the precipice of the limits here as they will head through turn 4, and then it's the crossover point.
These guys are upwards of 180 miles an hour coming down the straightaway. down and towards turn one. Will it be a move for Damian Dania? He's posturing himself to the inside line, but doesn't go for the attacking blow. Christopher Hill, on the other hand, chance does go for it with Joshua Rutherford, now driving the banana boat around the outside at Corvette Grande. Trying to find the traction there is going to be a little bit more difficult than it is. Oh, what about Dania still looking for that move to the inside line? Christopher Hill defends fairly from Joshua Rutherford. Checking in with those GT3s again, Nitakume has been able to catch up to the rear end of Keon Maduro, but the traffic won't be here just yet as Watson gets by Rutherford just ahead.
Yeah, as Rutherford and Dees have just gone off big time, and Brian Dees, I think, has caught the rough end of the stick there. And Joshua Rutherford, who was battling with Christopher Hill just a moment ago, Christopher Hill managed to keep ahead as you see Nitakume going through into the second of the two Lesmos, goes a little bit wide, catches the gravel with the left side tyres. And that's going to cause a little bit of a potential grip problem for the 296 as long as he can get his tyres cleared of that dirt and that dust and that gravel very quickly. But Brody Gunter for Goldmine Racing will lead us on to lap number 2, and with the top speed trap, Joshua Rutherford was clocked at a whopping 205.4 miles per hour. That is over 330 kilometers an hour as Brody Gunter leads us on to lap number 3. Christopher Hill, new fastest lap of the race at 234.588. The gap between the top 2 and third position is rapidly coming down. It's about 1 1/4 seconds as Dania again challenging Gunter for the lead as we head on to lap 3.
On to lap 3 with 14 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. The drivers are still jostling for position. They know it's a very short race, and then we're going to have the reverse format for the feature race tonight. So it's going to bring out different strategies, different levels of excitement, and different levels of patience throughout the field. This is a very different race than the feature race. We're going to have drivers jostling for position and potentially going for moves a little bit more aggressively than we have seen in the past. And what a run from Christopher Hill from way far back, and he is challenging now for the lead of the race and could go for P2 here around the outside of Damian Dania. Forces the over-under there, and now at Curva Grande, it'll be Damian Dania losing out just a little bit of ground.
Dania able to get the traction down in the number 98 Team Fastish machine and keeps Christopher Hill at bay. But it was, as I said, when we started the lap, it was 1 1/4 seconds, and Christopher Hill must have gotten a hell of a tow, and that is why it brought it all the way down to nothing as they went into the Retafilio chicane. They now head through the Lesmos, as there we see Damian Dania in second position at the moment in the number 98 Team Fastish machine, trying to close that gap to Brody Gunter as they will head down in towards Ascari through Saraglio, and then it's going to be this very, very tricky chicane. You've got to be picture perfect, as you could see Brody Gunter launching the left side wheels of the number 01 over the sausage curbs going skyward, but manages to get all 4 contact patches on the tarmac and gets the whole shot out of the corner. But it's going to be the braking zone here for Parabolica Alboreto. Damian Dania tight on the apex, looking to put the power down as late as he dare, just modulate that loud pedal and put the hammer down. And now he's going to try and start chasing. Meantime, Christopher Hill, Sagar has lost a little bit of time. He's 7/10 behind the man that we're riding on board with at the moment. As we go back into the banking, time for lap 4. We've still got 12 minutes to go, and look at the run Dania's got. He's going to the high side, and this could be a pivotal moment. Can he take the race lead? Yes, he can.
Barely, and just for a moment. We've seen that low side line come back time and time again, but this time Christopher Hill has such a huge drag on that low side line. He's gonna take the lead of the race by a huge margin. Christopher Hill is doing a fantastic job right now, and now has the inside line coming down towards turn 1, but loses the slipstream, gets a bump from Dania, and loses out everything that he gained in a blink of an eye.
Oh, that's a hard, bitter pill for Christopher Hill to swallow, and he gets the meatball flag. He's going to have to tow that thing. He's got no real opportunity, and that is going to be a long tow there as well. Or is he going to well, he's going to straight line the Rettifilio chicane. So slow down penalty plus meatball flag equals I'm not a very happy chappy right about now, but that was a real shame. But when they're dogfighting at over 195 miles an hour, it was a case of unstoppable force versus a movable object. And I'm afraid to say that Christopher Hill, after what was a great run, that has really put pay to his opportunity to win this opening race of the night.
There's always another heat to come back from at the end of the day if this one doesn't go your way. So there's always that to look forward to. Very unfortunate circumstances. You never wish for a race to end under those conditions for anybody. It's just tragic that mistakes were made there coming down the straightaway down to the Rettifilio chicane. The gap still about 1 second between Dania and Brody Gunter. Now P3 handed over to James Watson. Can he pull a Christopher Hill and challenge for the lead here and now?
Yeah, also one of the big things here is aerodynamic efficiency is your friend. So if you've got some damage on the front splitter, like I just noticed on the number 17 C7 Daytona of Brian Dees, that is not going to help him with regards to outright top speed, and it's the left front corner that has actually got some damage on it. So there you see it. That's quite a hefty hit that he's had on the front of that car. So it's not going to be easy for him, but if he can just keep that car as stable as possible, he's actually the slowest car out of the C7 Daytona prototypes going through the speed trap. He last clocked at a 193.3 miles an hour. And we're seeing the leaders. Brody Gunter is about 1.5 miles an hour slower through the speed trap, but here comes Damien Dania as we hit the crossover point on the run to the Rettifilio chicane. Halfway through the lap, and Christopher Hill is just about to, I think, make it through into pit lane here at Monza. He's he's hemorrhaging time. He's just decided to duck into the pit lane to get that damage repaired. And of course, you said with the reverse grid, that's going to put him on pole position for the C7 Daytona prototypes. And Daniel Miglin will be on the pole position for the GT3s, but still the battle for the race lead with just over 8 minutes to go. Gunter and Dania have been intertwined in this gladiatorial style battle since we went green.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about James Watson, Corey Mitchell, Brian Dees, and Travis Fleming. Joshua Rutherford in tow as well. All performing very well in this race, and here's my highlighter brother, James Watson from TWR SJ Division, who inherited third after that incident earlier on. Corey Mitchell and Brian Dees have been going after it, but like you said, unfortunately, Brian Dees a little bit slower coming through the speed trap right now, so Corey Mitchell has some margin to play with for Mitchell Motorsports, currently running in 4th position right now. Going into the banking now, I believe, is Brody Gunter and Damien Dania. Note they're headed into Curva Parabolica now. And that'll be the Gold Mine Racing going for gold here tonight with 7 minutes and 10 seconds left to go. Now, the circuit was originally built in 1922 inside the Royal Park of Monza near Milan, Italy. It was constructed in just 110 days, making it the 3rd purpose-built racetrack in the world after Brooklands in Indianapolis. The project was initiated by the Automobile Club of Milan to support Italy's growing car industry and provide a permanent venue. Just as the Americans did, the challenge for the lead is here from Damien Dania right now, and Brody Gunter follows in single file line for the first time, I believe.
Yeah, and this lap itself, we're on lap 6, so we're probably going to get 8 laps of racing here, Sagar, because the laps are quite lengthy here. Oh, Damien Dania goes over the bumps and it unsettles the back end of the number 98, and Brody Gunter able to retake the lead. He kept it to the outside, as we are seeing just some of the... oh dear, Brody Gunter was sideways under braking into the Rettifilio as Corey Mitchell versus Brian Dees. Mitchell to the outside of the Rettifilio chicane. Decides this time, discretion being the better part of valor in the C7 Daytona Prototype number 263. Trying to catch the 17, but again, Gunter and Dania, this has been the recurring theme of this race so far, and you can just see through corner exit, Brody Gunter being a little bit sideways, taking a little bit more curb than Damien Dania as they come out of the second of the two Lesmos very shortly, and that is going to be crucial. It's all about that traction. It's making sure that the car is a little bit more cooperative under steering and under rotation through the corners. You can just see that Dania is just showing his nose to Gunter as they head into Variante Ascari, which is a very, very complex part of the circuit. You can just see how close they are threading the eye of the needle when it comes to the limits.
Absolutely. I just got a glimpse of Dania sliding through the second part of Ascari and drifting that C7 prototype through the corner. Don't think it was intended purpose was for drifting or going sideways through corners, but Damien Dania sure is figuring out a way to do just that. Brody Gunter back into the lead as we cross the line going into the final. Nope, not the final lap, excuse me. The first corner of the 4-minute mark. Here we go.
Yeah, so that will give us 1 plus 1 more, as again we'll see Dania get the slipstream and watch the toe, folks. It is quite mighty. And Damien Dania through the speed trap, 201 miles per hour recorded. Brody Gunter 199.4 miles an hour. So the speeds are incredibly high. And also in the GT3's highest recorded speed at the moment, Corey Rutherford in 3rd place in the GT3's in the number 5 Ferrari 296. 183.8 miles an hour. That's just been eclipsed by the Ford Mustang of Keon Majuro, who continues to lead the class nearly 2 seconds ahead of the 151 Ferrari of Nidik Hume, as Corey Mitchell goes wheel to wheel with Brian Dees. This time he's on the inside line heading into the Rettifilio, and he's a nose ahead of Brian Dees, who goes late on the brakes, sweeps to the outside, retakes the position with a robust but fair move. That was a fair game for Brian Dees to make that stick, and he made it work very, very well indeed. Through Curva Grande they go, and this could be the opportunity. Is a little bit further back. We've got Travis Fleming battling with the recovering Joshua Rutherford, and this is for P6 overall and also in the class, as Fleming might dive to the inside of Della Roggia. No, he thinks better of it and decides that this time it's not probably the right time for me to make the maneuver, as we are 2.5 minutes to go. Next time around it will be the white flag lap.
There we go. It will be the white flag lap the following time by. And right now, Dania still closes down the gap on Brody Gunter in the lead. 0-1 has been running fairly well, not pitch perfect, and Dania is counting on those near pitch perfect moments to capitalize on those hairline mistakes that can be made or on such a tricky track. Then you throw in the combined layout as well. It adds that depth that we talked about time and time again. It just goes to show you the skill that these drivers have to master such a racetrack that few and seldom people will ever run. One of the things we haven't discussed thus far is that because the lap times are so close, we haven't seen anybody run into traffic yet for the most part. Will we even see traffic during our feature race? Will be the new question as Damian now goes through with 1 minute left to go to the lead. And now, can he hold on to this lead for Team Fastish Racing? He needs the points in the championship standings to get back into the lead going into the final round. Here and now is where he can do it. Going down towards turn 1, he tucks back into the slipstream, ducks back out immediately on the run. Maduro into the pits on the final lap. Does that mean that all the GT3s must stop? It does. Nidikume, Rutherford, and yes, the GT3s are pitting in the C7 category. Dania still inherits the lead. Amazing defense through turn 1 and in through the chicane. Travis Fleming having a bit of a moment with Joshua Rutherford, and Corey Mitchell was involved in that. And that will conclude that instance going in towards turn 1. Back over to the leaders for now. Can Brody Gunter challenge back? Let us know in the chat who you're rooting for. Is it Dania? Is it Gunter? Is it Watson? Or any of the other drivers on the grid tonight?
Biggest thing here is that Victor Aldridge, who started P3 in the GT3 division, has now got the race lead because Majuro, Nidikume, Corey Rutherford, Ken Estep, they've all had to take a brief splash and dash in pit lane. As all that's a big off for Brody Gunter coming out of Ascari. He nearly lost that car completely. It could have been exit stage right and into the wall. But it is going to be Dania that is going to hold on.
Amazing job for Damian Dania, but it's not said and done just yet, folks. We still have one more lap of running to go. No, excuse me. Dania takes the checkered flag. Brody Gunter in P2. James Watson in third with D's, Rutherford, Fleming, Mitchell, Hill, Aldrich, Maduro, Nidikume, Corey Rutherford, Ken Estep.
Yeah, still got about 35% of the lap to go for the GT3s, but Victor Aldridge has got the best part of nearly a 10-second lead over Keon Majuro, so he has been able to weather the splash and dash syndrome that the majority of the GT3 field have had to deal with just because of the sheer pace.
Look at the gap plummeting, though.
Yeah.
It is coming down dramatically.
I think he made sure that he's now lifted and coasted at every single corner. Now he's going to be hard on the brakes here. Now this is going to be a Scari that we're coming through, and Keon Majuro is not letting up. Those sector times are telling the story, but Victor Aldridge, if he's done this and pulled a flanker on everybody else, Keon Majuro now is 6 seconds and closing. That delta is coming down, but Victor Aldridge, how about this for a victory that probably no one saw coming? Not even Keon Majuro, not even Victor Aldridge himself, because Aldridge powers out of the final corner. He is literally crawling to the line. He has taken the checkered. He wins race 1. Oh my goodness me, the 88 Acura takes the win ahead of the 188 Mustang. I think maybe Aldridge might have been a little bit more strategic on how much fuel he was able to put into that Acura, thereby picking up the win by 4 seconds.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Victor Aldridge pulled out a masterclass tonight for us, showing us how it's done, and it's all about strategy at the end of the day. He was running cautious and consistent laps, and that's what brought him home to the checkered flag at the end of the day. Waiting for the official results to get populated, and we will get them posted before we go into the feature race, folks. Don't go anywhere. There's plenty more race action coming at you. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's a pleasure to be with you again for the Racers Nexus. Let's go ahead and take a look at the results officially for the C7s. It was Damian Dania, Brody Gunter, James Watson here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza combined circuit. Brian Dees for MFRD, Joshua Rutherford, Travis Fleming, Corey Mitchell, and then Christopher Hill all round out the 8 participants in the C7 category. Over to the GT3s. Alex, take it away.
Well, Victor Aldridge for TWR SJ Division takes the win by 4 seconds with a blinding strategic fuel masterclass here at the Monza combined circuit, winning ahead of Keon Majuro, taking the win by 4 seconds. Nidakume rounding out your top 3, and Victor Aldridge doing an absolutely fantastic job with Corey Rutherford, Ken Estep rounding out your top 5 finishers. Unfortunately, Team Watson Racing's Daniel Miglin would retire very early on the beginning of lap number 2. But Aldridge pulled a flanker. Can he do the same in race 2 coming up shortly?
Yes, sir. It'll be a challenge. It'll be a mountain to climb for all of the drivers as we face a reverse grid format for the feature race. What does that mean is that we'll see more passing opportunities. We'll see more draft battles than ever, and especially those 3 wide moments. Let's recap the start. Did you have 3 or nearly, actually it was 4 wide on the race start on your bingo card tonight, Alex?
I thought 4 wide was not a close possibility, but yeah, we just about managed it with the C7 Daytonas, but I knew we would go 3 wide, to be completely honest with you. But I didn't imagine it to be 3 wide at the front at one point with Brian, with Brody Gunter threading the eye of the needle, would take the lead from that point. Of course, you have to feel your heart kind of goes out to the likes of Joshua Rutherford and Christopher Hill. I mean, Christopher Hill was battling away with Gunter and Dania before he came, before he got that slight bit of contact, and that was at over 185 miles an hour down the start-finish stretch going into the Rettifilio chicane. And I have to give him credit because he managed to get that car back to pit lane without a tow, and that would have cost him even more time if he'd hit the escape button and has gone straight to the pit lane, because he would have had to waited a long time before repairing that damage. But still, nevertheless, he got it across the stripe. But Damian Dania draws first blood here in the Royal Park of Monza. It is a wonderful place in the world, and it just has that allure of just mythical pantheon of motorsport history. The people that have raced here for over a century, and I can't wait for the feature coming up very shortly, Sagar, because you thought, folks, that race 1 was a roller coaster. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Absolutely. And if you're not interested in the racing here, there's always the town of Milan that you could always take your significant other to and convince them, hey, we can go to Milan. And Monza's only 11 to 19 miles away, roughly, so you can always make a trip out of it, and that's how I plan on convincing my significant other to come to Monza with me one day. But right now, we're here. Thank you very much to the Racers Nexus broadcast team, and of course, our sponsor tonight, Apex Sim Racing, bringing you all the lovely assets that we need. Thank you so much to Apex Sim Racing. And the Track Cams brought to you by Track Cams Gourmet. Check out trackcams22.com for everything that you could possibly need. I'm your host, Sagar Bakshi. Joined with me in the broadcast booth is the legendary Alex Goldschmidt. thank you very much, Alex, for coming in to the lovely part of Italy. Let's take a look at the weather here today. The temperature is a beautiful 70 degrees. The track temperature at 79 degrees. Partly cloudy skies with 26% humidity.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I said, it's a track that I'm looking forward to visiting again this year. It just, like, literally one of the most pinch myself moments was back last year when Porsche Sportscar Suisse went there for their 4th round. And it was at the height of summer, 32 degrees centigrade, which was probably north of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And there was just that ambience in the air that you just cannot replicate with this circuit. And as we turn the page and head into the feature, well, the track temperature has increased quite a bit, it looks like, Sagar. So tyres are going to be an issue.
Here on the grid, in the reverse order, it'll be Daniel Miglin, Ken Estep, Corey Rutherford, Nidikume, Keon Maduro, Victor Aldrich, Christopher Hill, Corey Mitchell, Travis Fleming, and Joshua Rutherford. Then Brian Dees, James Watson, Brody Gunter, and Damian Dania rounding out everybody tonight.
Once again, we're going to have the short pace lap here, which will start just underneath the bridge after Saraglio, which is, they say it's a corner on the traditional Grand Prix circuit. It's basically a fast left-hand kink coming out of the second of the 2 Lesmos. But one of the big things that we've got now is the GT3s starting in front of the C7 Daytona Prototypes. And we've got 40 minutes on the timer, so fuel stops are going to be crucial, but you're going to see that these drivers, oh, look at that, it's like Moses and the parting of the sea there, Sagar, because all the GT3s have said, we don't want the C7s coming at us when we go green, so that was a very, very shrewd decision on their part.
In true ASRL fashion, we have great admins here clearing black flags as the grid gets reset. One of the tiny little quirks of virtual racing, but we managed to do what we can to challenge through. Excuse the tower here for just a moment as it gets reset. Ready to go racing here in just a few minutes as the safety car pulls in. Predictions tonight, Alex?
I'm wondering if Damian Dania might do the repeat here, but obviously Victor Aldridge is going to have a bit of a tougher test starting from P4. Big development though, Corey Mitchell and Brody Gunter, they have not joined the grid. Ken Estep is in pit road as we get ready with Christopher Hill and Joshua Rutherford. They are going to be bringing us here. Green flag waves in the air here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. We're underway for race number 2, and it's the run down into turn number 1. James Watson jockeying for position as they go over the bumps. It's nearly 3 wide for the lead already, and Christopher Hill's back end is looking a little bit loose. James Watson right in the slipstream. Joshua Rutherford to the high side. Travis Fleming not that far behind, but he's got Brian Dees to the inside. He's got a monster run through out of turn number 2. And a little bit of dab of brakes there from James Watson as he tries not to go spiralling into the back of Joshua Rutherford. But look at Travis Fleming to the outside as they go through into the banking at the far part of the circuit. And James Watson, that car over the bumps, is looking skittish, to say the least. And Joshua Rutherford has just had a little bit of a ping moment there, but over the bumps they go onto the start-finish stretch, over the traditional start-finish line, and it's still neck and neck between Rutherford and Hill. Hill's going to have the inside line into the Rezzafilio chicane. Watson might dive bomb here as well. He's going to try and attempt it, but Watson does go around the outside of the exit of the Rezzafilio chicane, so he gets through on Joshua Rutherford. Meantime, It's Nidekume that is leading the GT3s. He's got the 188 Mustang of Kion Majuro right up his exhaust pipes as they go through Curva Grande.
And this was the battle that we were glued to for the GT3s earlier on. Now in the feature race, it'll be Nidekume who has the opportunity to lead the GT3 category. Tumbling down the field, looked like Damien Dania had a little bit of an incident. James Watson as well. Resting in P5 right now is Dania, looking to the inside line. Here is gonna be the attacking car of Kion Maduro as he tries to challenge forward and get into the lead quick, fast, and early in this one.
So Ferrari on its home turf here, the Cavallino Rampante, the prancing horse leading the way in the GT3 division. And it's not that much between him and the Ford Mustang of Kion Majuro as they come out of Variante Ascari. Keep your eyes on Daniel Miglin and Victor Aldridge. The two Acuras. Corey Rutherford rounds out the top 5. Ken Estep in the number 66. The last of the Ferraris as here goes Kion Majuro to the inside of the Parabolica Alboreto. He gets through on Nidekume, who gets the switchback. As Majuro went a little bit deep there. They're going to come across the line to complete their opening lap. Meantime, Christopher Hill has got nearly a 2-second lead over James Watson in the C7 Daytona Prototype division. Brian Dees in P3, Fleming, Dania, Rutherford rounding out the 6 Daytona prototypes that are still running as we ride on board with the Ford Mustang of Kion Majuro, who last time through the speed trap was clocked at 188.5 miles an hour, 0.1 of a mile an hour quicker than the man in front as we go down the back stretch on the traditional banked oval here at Monza. And look at the momentum that he's got, the toe. He's going to be right in the wheel tracks as they go through into the banking. And here is a 3-car brawl. And this is going to be these amongst, well, no, this is Watson with Fleming. And there is Brian Dees, the left-hand side. He's right in the wheel tracks. Just behind is Damien Dania. Now, Damien Dania decided to go very, very early on the brakes, not to cause himself or anybody else in front any dramas. But the thing is, Damien Dania at the moment is 3.1 seconds behind the leaders as Nidekume brakes early for the Rettifilio chicane, whereas Kion Majuro nearly went straight on and would have picked up a slowdown penalty for exceeding track limits. He just about got away with it in the 188 Mustang. So we have got battles up and down the order in C7 Daytona and GT3 here at Monza.
Nidekume pulled out a great move, sold that dummy to Kion Maduro that he was going to go deep, but ended up being the 188 who was the dummy there and was sold that mistake. Going into towards turn 1, very tricky to go side by side going into the chicane, and Nidekume saw the risk and avoided it like the plague. I love to see that kind of heads-up driving. He did it once at the Parabolica where he pulled off that over-under just that previous lap, and now he's pulling off great, 110 level mind games on Kion Maduro right now. It's just so great to see this level of craft and skill come out from these drivers.
But Maduro's really, really on the offensive now as they've just come out of Variante Ascari. And you can see that with the way that Kion Majuro was wrestling with the steering wheel of the 188 Ford Mustang GT3 as they go wheel to wheel, door panel to door panel, through out of Parabolica around Loreto. Nidekume might get the overspeed here because he took the high line round the outside. And it's going to be wheel to wheel across the line. Nidekume ahead by a nose as they're going to head into the banking onto lap 3. James Watson, in the meantime, is closing that gap to Christopher Hill, who is leading the C7 Daytonas, and the gap is about 6.5 tenths. And look at this, Nidekume to the high side, Kion Majuro to the inside line on the banking, through at the opening corner of the Monza combined circuit here in the Royal Park of Monza, not too far outside of the fashion capital of the world, Milan in Italy. But still, Nidekume is ahead by about a car length. But look at this, Kion Majuro is getting the side draft. This will give him the advantage going into the second bit of the banking, and he's about a car length ahead, if that, as Ninikume just finding the slipstream in that Ferrari 296. And when you have a 3-litre twin-turbo V6 versus a naturally aspirated 5.4-litre howling, barking Coyote V8 underneath the snout of that Ford Mustang, it's two different powertrain solutions, but both are very, very, very complementary of the circuit here at Monza, and still Ninikume able to use the 3000 IQ Strat defensive strategy to keep Kion Majuro at bay. We're only 7 minutes in, and the battles have been fast and furious here at the Temple of Speed for race 2.
And they're going to continue, as it looks like the door was open for Maduro to follow through on Ninikume here and now. It was a good-looking attack at the Rajia chicane as the door was available, but now a little bit of a mistake at Lesmo 2 going off into the kitty litter. Does he do it again through 2? No, he does not. Mistake-free this time by now. If you're Ninikume, what are you thinking with that big brain of yours on how to get by Kion Maduro? We know the fast laps are there and available. Ninikume's best lap being a 2:45.0 compared to a 2:44.7 from Maduro, but that was with the toe going through the high banking and down the long straightaways. Now Ninikume can potentially do the exact same lap according to the predicted times. Can he actually stitch it together when it matters most? Brian Dees not too far back from the lead battle with Christopher Hill and James Watson, getting very close right now as that gap has absolutely evaporated before our very own eyes. James Watson was very careful on that race start, using his brakes even while applying the throttle to make sure that he didn't run anybody over and avoided any unnecessary contact with the leaders, and didn't want to even get involved in the bump drafting. Now the run going down in towards the Rettifilio chicane looks good, but again, James Watson expresses a little bit of patience here as he understands this is a very long race to go.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is that James Watson for the last 2 laps, Sagar, has set the fastest lap of the overall classification in this race at 2:34.188. The last time around, I think he did a 2:34.6 as it's wheel to wheel down towards the Rettifilio. Ninikume pulling to the left-hand side for the entry point, but he'll put him on the outside for the exit of the Rettifilio as Kion Majuro nearly comes to blows. Ninikume has to back out of the throttle, and this means he loses a little bit of time. The gap has now expanded to about 6.5 tenths of a second on that particular occasion, but now in many respects with just 30 minutes to go of the 40-minute race, if I'm honest with you, I would say that I might want to be in the position that Ninikume is in right now. And the reason why I say that, because you're at full throttle for 85% of the racing lap here around the Monza combined circuit, one of the big things that you need to keep an eye on is on your fuel mileage, and that is going to be crucial. Meantime, Damien Dania is having to battle away with Joshua Rutherford, and this is, well, it's Travis Fleming, my apologies there. Damien Dania is now on the back of the 4-car train that is contesting for the race win. And there is James Watson, who's now 1.3 seconds behind Christopher Hill. There's Brian Dees in the number 17 trying to chase him down. Damien Dania is only 0.3 of a second behind the dueling pair in front, so this might give him an opportunity. But I think with what I was coming back to, the point I was trying to make was that you want to be in that dirty air a little bit more often, because you don't have to go full throttle. Thereby, it's going to give you an opportunity maybe to be at 85-90% of full throttle application. That means your car is doing less work, and the dirty air that the person in front that is punching a hole in is giving you absolutely what you need. And here comes Brian Dees And James Watson closing on Christopher Hill down into the Rettifilio chicane. Damien Dania is going to be very close, and there he is. He shows his nose to the number 17 car in P3 into the Rettifilio. Meantime, Joshua Rutherford and Travis Fleming are playing C7 Daytona musical chairs into the Rettifilio. Joshua Rutherford in the 64 gets through for P5 after a nice little battle between the pair. But it is going to be the case of that fuel mileage is going to be ever so important. And Nidekume at the minute is 0.2 of a second ahead of Kion Majuro. They're coming across the stripe now on the traditional start-finish straight, heading into the Rettifilio. And at the moment, if Kion Majuro might play his cards right, it's going to be on the banking where he might have that little bit of an advantage, but he tags the back of Nidekume, spins himself around, and that is going to allow Corey Rutherford, Daniel Miglin, Victor Aldridge to all go through. And what a drama there for Kion Majuro at the wrong place, wrong time for it to happen. But there's still 27.5 minutes to go, and I think that he might be able to recover from that. And it also depends on how the pit stops are going to play into this race, because we'll see them for the GT3s, we'll see them for the C7 Daytona prototypes, because you can't be in a circuit like this and expect your fuel tank to last the entirety of a 40-minute race around a 10-kilometer circuit. There's no way in hell that if you've brimmed the tank to the maximum fuel allowance permitted, that you're going to get across that line with just fumes to spare. You probably run out with a couple of laps to spare at the very least.
It's a very good point to point out, because if the GT3s couldn't even make it a full 20 minutes, well, they're definitely not going to make it a full 40 on one stop. So a lot of the drivers here are playing strategy games and deciding when or what times they push. With that being said, we're not seeing them push as flat out, or we're not seeing their natural pace so far, but we are seeing them flat out, and we are seeing the natural pace of these drivers right here, as Christopher Hill leads James Watson and Brian Dees with a big slingshot from Damien Dania going down and towards turn 1. Can he get the 2-for-1 special at the most dangerous corner in motorsports? He'll be casualistic about it and just take the 1.
Very, very shrewd and strategic driving there from Damien Dania. He knew that there was an opportunity to at least get past one car. And sometimes, patience is a virtue, and it's about the race coming to you. You've got to pick your moments. Oh, there's an off-track there for James Watson, who gets a slow-down penalty for exceeding track limits heading into Della Roggia. So he's going to have to serve that pretty quickly. We've seen it before where a driver hasn't served their slowdown penalty quickly enough, and then it causes a black flag, which means the driver will normally have to take a drive-through at the pit lane. So Watson is going to have to slow it down, which he has done, which now means he can be back up to full racing speed. But nevertheless, that slowdown penalty has brought him into the clutches of the number 98 of Team Fastest Racing's Damien Dania, who is on the charge. He wants to do the double here tonight at Monza, because with only one more round to go 7 days from now, he wants to make sure that every single stone is not left unturned, and that he can keep as many points as he can. If he gets the double here at Monza, he'll be going into the final round next week with a big bag of confidence.
Absolutely. Trying to clinch the championship in the final few moments when he can is going to be paramount to get the result here and now tonight. Running in third, he is very cautious about his overtake going down and towards turn 1. Now, will he be cautious for the remaining part of the race? Well, time will only tell if the drivers will be patient or if they'll just go for the lick of the stamp and the sends going into the final few moments of the race. Here's Brian Dees in the back of the pack running in P4 right now as sparks fly out from the rear end of Dania's car coming through the high banking. Will he be under threat? He obviously is, and feels the pressure from Dees, pulls over swiftly and lets Dees right on by, who's carrying the speed and the momentum. Checking out the battle here between Joshua Rutherford and Travis Fleming. The run belongs to Fleming, Joshua Rutherford, as Fleming dips a couple wheels off into the grass coming down the straightaway. Not sure what that was about, just trying to provide a little bit of racing space, but enough was given, that's for sure.
Maybe he might have gone a little bit wide coming out of the Parabolica Alboreto, but still we've got this battle at the sharp end of the field. It is a quartet of drivers, as again we see that Damien Dania loses out to Brian Dees, but manages to get through at Lesmo number 1 to retake P3. Number 98 uses a little bit more of that AstroTurf on the exit curbing. Now you can see that Dania is starting to stretch that gap between himself and Brian Dees to about half a second. But more to the point, it is just going to be the case of, you know, just picking your spots. Let the race come to you. Don't go full bore, all guns blazing and firing on all cylinders, because we did see it in race 1 where some drivers got a little bit, maybe a little bit overzealous for their own good, and it caused them problems. But the thing is that the quality of the racing that we have seen here in race 2, they know it's a longer game to play. You've got to pick your moments on the chessboard, whether you sacrifice your pawn, your rook or your bishop to try and make that checkmate move. But at the moment, it's not really 100% decisive on who has put everybody into check and who is going to be put on notice, because you can see there by our helicam shot as they go into the banking, as we've very much on the case of being on lap 8 of the race with 21.5 minutes to go. Fleming and Rutherford, it's kind of like that musical chairs situation I was talking a little bit earlier about, Sagar. So again, it's the case of, you know, how much do I want to be in front, or is it easier for me to stay behind and just keep in that tow, save those ever precious litres of fuel as much as I can over the course of the race, and maybe not just be able to undercut the person in front of me, maybe even more than that, depending on how long the fuel stops will be. And you can just see as they go over the bumps, coming on to the traditional start-finish straight as we know now, Rutherford, his back axle went up a little bit higher, as we now see pit stops from the GT3s. Nick Kume, Kion Jiro, and Victor Aldrich now come in pit lane. So it's going to be a longer fuel stop for the GT3s. Nidakume is most of the way, I would imagine, through his fueling window here at Monza. And so he is going to come out a big chunk of change ahead of Kion Majuro and Victor Aldridge. So Nidakume on his marks in the pit lane, 19.3 seconds. Kion Majuro, 19.37. And it looks like the Acura has been better on its fuel mileage, because Victor Aldridge, 18.9 seconds on his marks in the pit stall. So he's managed to mitigate that gap between himself, Majuro and Kume, but it's dependent on who's going to make the fuel last the longest in the second half of the GT3 race, because Corey Rutherford in the number 5 Ferrari and Daniel Miglin in the number 4 Acura, who started on reverse grid pole position for the GT3 division, despite only getting to the crossover point between laps 1 and 2 in the opening race. It's dependent on how much longer they're going to push it, and I would imagine they're going to be in on the very next lap, so we could see the pendulum of power switch to the 3 that have already pitted, whereas Ken Estep has been in for over 50 seconds, and I would imagine that's going to be the case of damages being repaired, as Joshua Rutherford has pitted in the C7 Daytona Prototype division, the first one to pull the trigger on that.
And over in the C7 Daytonas, it's still a tight pack battle, separated by just a handful of tenths. We're glued to the GT3 battle here between Corey Rutherford and Daniel Miglin to see if and when they'll come down pit road, because as Alex was just describing, the drivers have been apt to push the cars a little bit further on the fuel mileage because of the way that this race is set up and because of the length of the track. So that bearing that Corey Rutherford and Daniel Miglin have easily breached the 20-minute mark goes to show you that they've been fuel saving very, very well, and that their strategy is going to be paying them dividends going into the second half of this stint. They both come down pit road, so that allows us to check in with the C7 Daytonas, as it's still Christopher Hill leading James Watson and Brian Dees in third, with Damien Dania in fourth. Now, important to note as well that we don't have Brody Gunter challenging for the lead any longer.
No, he didn't make it out onto the grid, unfortunately, which has deprived us of another mano-a-mano battle between him and Damien Dania, who is still waiting for his opportunity. And I think he might try for the undercut in the pit lane strategy, which could be quite pivotal to how the C7 Daytona Prototype pecking order goes along. Meantime, Keon Majuro is 7.4 seconds behind Nidakume. Daniel Miglin is about 1.3 seconds behind. Corey Rutherford is about a tenth behind Miglin for P3. As we see the work in progress number 5 car, Corey Rutherford, here he goes. Daniel Miglin to his left-hand side. As we see Hill, Watson, Dees, Dania, they have all pitted on the completion of lap 9 as we head into double digits in the C7 prototypes. Travis Fleming, he decides also to dive into pit road. Joshua Rutherford has already been in, was in last time around, was the first driver to pull the trigger, but the thing is it's dependent on how quickly he gets through. 13.7 seconds for Christopher Hill, Damien Dania 14 seconds. Brian Dees and James Watson. Oh, well, Brian Dees, that is not how you wanted the pit stop to go, because that is now 30 seconds and he just about makes it out of pit lane. Brian Dees, who was running P3 ahead of Damien Dania, now finds himself out of the pits and is down into 5th position, whereas Christopher Hill has a 3.5 second advantage over Damien Dania. As we see Rutherford behind Majuro, who is now 9 seconds back from Nidakume in the number 151 Ferrari 296 GT3. These three drivers are covered by just over 7/10 of a second as they head through to Lesmo 2. Majuro running a little bit wider than Rutherford and Miglin, who were a little bit tighter on the apex through into Lesmo 2. Through Seraglio, now underneath the bridge they go. And yeah, the thing is, Daniel Miglin in the Acura is the second fastest in the speed trap so far, 186 miles an hour. Corey Rutherford, the quickest out of anybody, 186.7 miles an hour. As look at this, we've got a bit of a three-way scrap for second position in the GT3 division. As to the inside goes Corey Rutherford on Keon Majuro. Majuro spins around, and that is going to be a rear bumper lost for Corey Rutherford, I'm afraid. And that is not going to help him one iota. And whether he's picked up some damage on the left front due to that contact. But it just goes to show, black flag for Keon Majuro, who has come into the pit lane, and that is going to be a drive-through penalty served if he has taken it. But more to the point, Keon Majuro is out of the running for the GT3 victory. We have still 14 minutes to go. And more to the point, well, can Damien Dania catch Christopher Hill? Because that gap is 5 seconds at the moment. But you're going to have to stick with us here on Race and Nexus, folks, because we are not done yet for this second race. A 40-minute feature here for this penultimate round of the ASRL Sports Car Championship here at the Monza Combined Circuit in Italy.
It's amazing what Nide Kume has done. He had a 9-second gap, now escaping to 12 seconds. If he can just run this race on his own and very carefully, he can take the big W tonight. Daniel Miglin is in second place, but has Corey Rutherford in tow by just about a second right now. And here's Victor Aldrich, who's challenging Corey Rutherford. Now Victor Aldrich driving this 88 Acura, also badged as a Honda in some countries. Has been
like
running
the United Kingdom.
yeah, and the US as well.
Yeah.
And you'll see across various racing platforms as Corey Rutherford chucks it into the chicane and breaches track limits. Victor Aldrich as well, though. So Corey Rutherford clearing his, Daniel Miglin clearing his. So now we'll have to reset and restack, re-rack as Aldrich is now through on the 88. And now it'll be an Acura sandwich. As you always describe a sandwich by the meat inside, you don't call it a sourdough sandwich, you call it a turkey sandwich on sourdough. So the Acuras, the meat of the Ferrari sandwich bread, here tonight. The 4 and the 88 between Nide Kume and Corey Rutherford. Ken Estep in tow as well, a minute down as it sits. Big margins here in the C7 Daytona Prototype category, as the gap of 6.9 seconds might be insurmountable for Damien Dania to capture and climb. James Watson of Team Watson Racing 5 seconds back in the number 39. Brian Dees driving home the number 17 right now. Travis Fleming in 5th with Joshua Rutherford in the number 64 in 6th, rounding out all the participants here tonight. 11:30 remaining on the clock as the drivers cross the line.
Yep, and we're very, very close to completing lap number 11 very shortly, but Damien Dania will find about the relative between his last tour and then also with regards to Christopher Hill, because they came in and pitted at the same time. Christopher Hill's last lap, including the pit stop, was a 3-minute 6.4. Damien Dania, 3-minute 8.7. Now, even with 11 minutes to go, you might say, yes, that's going to be an insurmountable mountain to climb, as Victor Aldrich to the inside through the banking here at Monza on Daniel Miglin, who has had a bit of a redemption this time around for race number 2, as they're going to see on their right-hand side. There's the number 39 of Team Watson Racing's James Watson. He's going to head into the banking. Just coming into shot at the bottom of it for just a brief second. There is Corey Rutherford in the number 5 Ferrari. Oh, Daniel Miglin got way too up close and personal to the left rear bumper of Victor Aldrich through into the Rettifilio as they head through Curva Grande. 10 minutes on the timer. This battle does not show any signs of being able to douse the flames with water. Instead, it's probably going to be the fact that the battle will be doused, the battle flames will be doused by gasoline. As Miglin is slightly off at the outside part of Della Roggia, not bad enough or not significant enough to give him a slowdown penalty via the iRacing service, but this is going to be a very, very close battle if they can stay within the current proximities of each other right up until the checkered.
It is looking good right now for Nide Kume. That strategy call I'm still curious about as he continues to push, and it looks like he is not in fuel saving mode, and he took the same length pit stop as the rest of the field, roughly 19 seconds. So it's not anything to really complain about for him in the pit stop cycle. Perhaps, like we talked about, that Ferrari just a little bit better on fuel than the little Acuras that are running in this field tonight. Keon Maduro is out of the race, unfortunately, after that big accident at Curva Parabolica. He was unable to recover after entering pit road and unfortunately will not get points tonight. That gives a big challenge to Corey Rutherford right now, who's in tow of this three-way battle for P2. And let's take a look on board with Rutherford now.
And you can just see how much minimal steering input you need on the banking here at Monza. A little bit of occasional adjustment just to keep the car settled, which is trying to knock the fillings out of your teeth, basically, because you're going to see here, look how bumpy it is. He's just trying to make sure that there are minimal adjustments on the steering. And one of the main reasons for that is you don't want to turn too quickly into these oval bank corners, because that can swap the front end quickly with the back if you just over rotate on the steering. But through the other corners, like we're going to see here with regards to Rettifilio, they're going to be all the way down the gearbox from 6th gear into 1st at around about 35-40 miles an hour, and a little bit of a wobble there from Daniel Miglin as he tried to apply the power in the number 4 car. However, I have noticed that Damien Dania is closing that gap slowly but surely on Christopher Hill. The gap was at its highest around about 7 seconds. It is now at 4.5 seconds. So Damien Dania able in some of the sectors of the track to take a big chunk out of Christopher Hill's lead. But with 7 minutes to go, you can just see they're catching the grass on the inside of the opening of the 2 Lesmos here at Monza. The second one has got a bit more of a compression with regards to the center of gravity on the car and the G-forces, and then seems like the Acura in front is holding on to that position. The gap between Christopher Hill and Damien Dania has expanded, but it keeps on pendulum swinging thus far, Sagar. So it depends on Christopher Hill. This is his race to lose here at the feature at Monza.
And just as you say that, there was a crash from Christopher Hill. Let's take a look here. What happened going down and towards turn 1? Oh, big lockup and spin. Well, get pointed in the right direction, and that's all she wrote. So that's why the gap has come down so dramatically.
There was a bit of a code brown and clean up on aisle 3 there for Christopher Hill. It's not the easiest of the parts of the circuit that are going to be conducive to your lap time, but that's a clear personification on how not to attack the Rettifilio. It's Corey Rutherford coming back at Daniel Miglin for P3. They are nearly side by side, and the side draft is starting to engage for the number 5 work in progress Ferrari, who literally is taking hardly any banking at all. He was staying so close to the inside grass runoff area. That's giving him a really good opportunity, and also in some respects that can be the tighter line, which thereby means you're covering less distance.
It's a good run for Daniel Miglin, but it's just not enough right now to catch up to Victor Aldrich, who's in the lead of this 3-car train. I don't know when it'll become settled down, because we've only got 4:44 remaining on the clock, folks. So the drivers gotta get the hurry up and go on sooner rather than later. I know Corey Rutherford would be absolutely thrilled with another podium tonight, but he wants to do it cleanly and squarely with his fellow drivers. Now, as the sun sets here in Monza, it's looking gorgeous out and the temperature falls a little bit, Alex. The drivers are fading a little bit as far as their concentration, because they've already been driving for about an hour and 20 minutes. How do you deal with that fatigue after you've been pushing as hard as you can at one of the fastest circuits in the world?
I think one of the biggest points right now, with just only 4 minutes to go, and this time around we will be on our penultimate lap, I potentially think, or we might have 2 more to go. When the C7 Daytona Prototypes, led by Christopher Hill, cross the line, they're about 80% of the way through lap number 14. It's more a case of just keeping yourself focused. Try not to distract yourself with any sudden adjustments or going into a braking point too heavily, unless you know that there is a maneuver that you can make that you are 100% confident and committed to making. That's where you've got to be very, very careful. But there are some drivers that will have thought, okay, I know I've got a bit of fuel left, maybe in comparison with the drivers in front of me, so that might give me a little bit of an advantage. That could be said with regards to Corey Rutherford, who is closing once again on Daniel Miglin, who in turn is closing in on Victor Aldridge. This is going to be a very, very close moment. The Acura start bump drafting, NASCAR style, as we head into the banked oval once again here at Monza. It's just about picking your moments and not panicking. Just know what you're capable of doing. Don't exceed the limits. Don't overdrive the car. That's what you've got to be very, very careful. And that's going to be difficult when you have been doing free practice. You've done qualifying. You've already done one race. You're the majority of the way through race number 2. But into Rettifilio, can Corey Rutherford get through? He's ahead by a nose to the outside. Daniel Miglin really had nowhere else to park the car apart from the inside of the exit of the first chicane that we've dealt with on the circuit after dealing with the oval banking. So that was pretty neat and tidy from Corey Rutherford. And Daniel Miglin decided, you know what, I might want the points rather than having someone dive up the inside, but Corey Rutherford goes straight on at De La Roggia. That's another slowdown penalty. Miglin gets a slowdown penalty as well, which means that has given Victor Aldridge a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card. So it's not going to be easy, but next time around it will be the white flag lap for our C7 Daytona Prototypes. Christopher Hill still has kept that lead to about 5 seconds between him and Damien Nedania, who's going to be thinking, oh, I could have gotten the double here tonight, but it's still significant points that the number 8 will capture. So yeah, Team Watson's Racing number 101 leading by a country mile, as someone has been off at Ascari just a moment ago. That's probably one of the GT3s, maybe Ken Estep, who is just in the front of shot there. No, that's I think that is Ken Estep, I believe, in front, or maybe Daniel Miglin. But yeah, it's 1 lap to go, and this is the moment where they can breathe that sigh of relief, saying, okay, there's only 1 more lap of this circuit to go. I'll be glad when this is all over and done with.
That's very true. The drivers will have that breath of relief as they see the white flag being waved by Barney, the flag man, here with just 15 seconds left to go. Brian Dees crosses the line and takes us around the old banking here at Monza. Now, Christopher Hill has done an amazing job tonight at leading this race from green to checkered flag, pretty much. A little bit of a battle earlier on with the rest of the field, but mostly green and clean. Christopher Hill for Team Watson Racing is going to pull in a whole heap of points. Damien Dana in P2 could have wished and could have thought that he could have gotten P1, but he expressed a lot of discretion tonight and really just was patient with his overtakes. I think that's what got him P2 tonight. Otherwise, it would have been P last or out of this race, because Monza is one of the most dangerous tracks in all of motorsport. The drivers have cautiously expressed their concern around the racetrack, and they run across traffic for the first time throughout the race, and Ken Estep has to come back down pit road for the second time to finish up in the GT3 category. Is that a warning for the rest of the GT3 category who may not have fuel saved enough to make it this extra last lap?
We head into the Lesmos. The final time is good spatial awareness there by Corey Rutherford to let through overall race leader Christopher Hill get through. And at this point, Corey Rutherford will be thanking his lucky stars because he'll actually finish his race on the same lap as our race leader, who heads through into Variante Ascari for what will be the final time. We are now 43.5 minutes through on this race, including the fact that last time round it was the white flag lap with about a minute to go. And considering it is a very, very long lap, 6.24 miles, but it's through to Parabolica for the final time here on the penultimate round of ASRL.
Christopher Hill crosses the line and takes the checkered flag high and proud tonight. And Damian Dania in P2 will be pleased with his result as well. James Watson crosses the line in third, driving that highlighter TWR car, and he's going to be pleased with his result as well. Brian Dees in fourth place, had tremendous battles for MFRD, crosses the line in fourth. Travis Fleming in fifth, Joshua Rutherford in sixth. For the GT3 categories, it's still going to be Nide Kume in the lead. Victor Aldrich takes home P2. Corey Rutherford in third. Daniel Miglin, Ken Estep, and Keon Maduro as Travis Fleming takes the pit road exit.
Yeah, what a run it's been. Of course, Victor Aldridge winning the opening race of the night in the GT3 division. We've got a little bit of a wait for Nide Kume to cross the line. Along with that, Ken Estep has gone off circuit, unfortunately, but he is still circulating, so he will cross the line in P5. So two different winners in the C7 Daytona Prototypes and also in our GT3 division. Nide Kume is about 50% of the way through the lap. But the main thing is that he was the only driver in the GT3 field that was yet to be lapped by the race leaders. And oh right, he's looking a little bit slow there.
I think he is out of fuel. Out of fuel, but I think that won't really that'll count for nothing here. So it seems like Nide Kume will pick up the win in the GT3 division on that measure, because he completed more race distance than the drivers behind him. Ken Estep has crossed the line and taken P5 on the road. Whether that running out of fuel might cause a drama for Nide Kume, I don't know post-race. But nevertheless, what a 40-minute feature. I mean, the 20-minute sprint really got things off to a bang here at Monza here, Sagar, but what a way to finish underneath the Monza sunset here for this penultimate round of the series. Truly a beautiful way to end the race, and we are going to have the results populated here for you in just a moment. Here we are for the GT3s. Take it away, Alex.
So, Nide Kume joins Victor Aldridge as a race winner here for the American Sim Racing League at the Temple of Speed Autodromo Nazionale Monza combined, with a total of 93.3 miles completed once it was all said and done. Victor Aldridge was the hardest charger. He started 6th. He finishes P2, so a good haul of points for him tonight. A win in the sprint and 2nd in the feature. Fastest lap in the division, and unfortunately, who retired on lap 9, the 188 Ford Mustang of Keon Majura, who finished 6 laps down in the classification. Corey Rutherford finishes P3 ahead of Team Watson Racing's Daniel Miglin and JK Racing's number 66 Ferrari of Ken Estep. All crossed the line and got to the end of the race. Over to you, Sagar, for the results for the C7 Daytona Prototypes.
It was Christopher Hill who led us for 16 of those tremendous laps. Damian Dania for Team Fastest Racing came home in P2 as the hard charger. James Watson for TWRS J Division took home the fastest lap with a 2:34.188. In P4, it'll be Brian Dees for Team MFRD with Travis Fleming in 5th. Joshua Rutherford brings home 6th for Work in Progress. Corey Mitchell in 7th. And Brody Gunter, unfortunately, not taking the start of this race. Now we have a couple of drivers ready to be interviewed. Let's see who we want to pick from to talk to first. Let's start with Damian Dania. We'll go from top to bottom. Damian Dania, my good friend, how do you do tonight on this lovely evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world?
A very difficult day for me. I'm really not satisfied. I feel extremely guilty because what I did in the first race was extremely stupid, and I should not have won the race. Besides that, I intentionally slowed down in the second race because I just didn't feel it was right to win. So, yeah.
We were noticing that you're expressing a little bit more caution than not going into the second race. Obviously, your mindset changed a little bit after what happened in the heat of the first time around, but still good results for you. And we'll let the stewards decide, obviously, what is to become
I think
of the
I should be
results.
disqualified. So,
well,
yeah.
We'll let the stewards handle that. But for now, Damian Dania, anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody you'd like to thank on the evening tonight?
Thanks to my mom and Roy for all the support as always. They're trying to tell me to stay positive, so I'm doing my my best to do so, but it's a little bit difficult to do so in such a situation because I just it's difficult to say. I just don't have that much to say because I just make too many mistakes, too many stupid mistakes, too many errors, and I can't keep going on like this. And I don't deserve a championship if I keep doing this. That's it. Sorry.
Just, the last thing I'll say before I let you go, Damian, is that remember that mistakes happen. And as long as we learn from those mistakes and move forward, that's all that matters in life. So it looks like you've learned from that mistake and expressed your concern for heat number 2. So take that on the chin that you're mature enough to express that concern for your fellow drivers and not just be worried about yourself. Damian, I hope you have a better night. And as always, stay safe out there, brother.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Alex, why don't you talk to Keon Maduro?
Well, Keon, welcome into the booth. It's been an evening of two halves for you. I mean, first of all, let's talk about race 1. I mean, you and Nidakume having an absolutely fantastic battle all the way through. It was kind of musical chairs, wasn't it, between you and your chief rival in the 151 Ferrari here on that car's home soil?
It was a battle, and I was talking to him on the radio. I was like, "Yo, we need to fuel safe," because I was monitoring my fuel, and he just was not letting up. So I was like, "Okay, I guess we're gonna battle this out to the end and see what happens."
Yeah, which then prompted the fact that that the person that had really done the 3000 IQ fuel strat on everybody, and that was Victor.
Yeah,
I mean, kudos to him for pulling that one out of the bag in the Acura, but still, you finished P2, you got good points on the board, but race 2, retirement after lap 9, it wasn't exactly the way you wanted to end the race because you were battling again with Nida, and we saw you guys come down to the Rettifilio chicane, and then a moment. And all of a sudden, the Mustang goes around. You lose all those positions that you'd worked hard to gain. What eventually happened that made you retire from the race?
Well, after that, I was trying to fuel save. After I got into the back of him, and the rear of the car got loose and I spun, and I had to pit early because I didn't have any fuel. But what made me retire was I wasn't gonna have enough fuel, and then what lap was it where Corey got into the side of the back, well, the side of the back, and the back of the car just went around, and at that point I just knew there was no way I was gonna get back up in the lead. I wasn't gonna catch Nite, and I wasn't gonna beat that group of cars that were battling behind me because I was trying to fuel save, and I know they had the upper hand, so they would have made it to the end. I would have ended up having to pit one more time to even keep up with them. So after the incident between me and Corey, I said, you know what, I'm good in standings with points, and I'll go ahead and watch them and let them battle it out.
So to have a bit of a time being a spectator, and also that's an opportunity for any driver, including the likes of yourself, where you're able to learn a little bit more about the opposition. Am I right?
Yeah, it was a little bit, just learning and seeing what they're doing and how they're fuel saving. And, I took away something from just spectating.
Well, listen, despite the fact of a difficult race too, you're in pretty good standings going into the final round. Before we let you go, Keon, anyone you want to give a shout out to in particular?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the guys that come out every Wednesday and race, like everyone that's in this league. You guys for always putting on, just putting on the broadcast for people back home at home to see, and friends, families back home that's watching, and my wife.
Brilliant. Well, Keon, thanks for your time, buddy. We look forward to seeing you next week for the series finale at Sebring.
All right, guys, y'all have a good one, and thank you again.
There we go, Keon Majuro there from our GT3 division. And it looks like next up, Sagar, you've got Christopher Hill with you in the booth.
Absolutely. I've got Christopher Hill from Team Watson Racing driving that banana boat, number 101, to victory tonight. Christopher Hill, you've got to feel pretty good about the results.
Happy for the second race for sure. The first one was quite a bummer, but definitely happy to end up getting a decent result for the second go round there, and being able to kind of make up for what happened in the first one. And yeah, so hopefully that keeps me still strong enough in the championship. We can wrap this thing up next week and see where it goes.
Absolutely, sir. Now I have to ask, what was it that led you to controlling the field here tonight? Obviously, you guys all started bunched up, but it took a lot out of you to really fight back the hard chargers tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the first part there, definitely had help from James. I mean, he's a good friend, good team owner, good, every part of it there. He was kind of being my rear gunner for a bit, and I had a feeling if I could save fuel enough there to make that, that ninth lap, that I'd be in pretty good shape. So I just that was the strategy. And then, I don't know if Damien kind of just backed off for the second half there, because I mean, he lost a lot at one point as we came out of the pits, and I know he feels bad about the first race, stuff, and so maybe he was just guaranteeing that he wasn't going to catch or be in the way or anything. Not certain, but yeah, it did end up working out well though. I mean, I somehow this track kind of gelled with me, and I'm not usually the king of the late breakers, and so this is kind of a track you can't do that. If you charge the chicanes too much, then you end up offline and stuff. So I think it kind of ended up kind of in my favor, but I don't know. Happy with the win, happy with the result, happy with the speed. I think we were competitive, and wish we could have finished the first race in a decent spot, but happy with the recovery, and on to one more round here next week. So hopefully we keep it going.
Hopefully we have another strong result for you in the final round at Sebring. Christopher Hill, final question. Anybody you'd like to shout out, or anybody you'd like to thank on the evening?
Always got to thank James from Team Watson Racing Setup Shop. I mean, he's been supporting me for a while here, and it's a good group of guys to be around and just friends with and all that kind of stuff. Not Not to mention they're dang good at making setups and racing and all of that. So lots learned being with them and part of the team for the last few years here, and really fortunate to call them my friends and teammates. Always got to mention my company. I'm a racing instructor by trade, a precision racing instruction. If anybody's ever looking for a little tune-up, real life sim, anything along the line, if you just want to talk racing, feel free to reach out. And big thanks to you guys and the Rutherfords for putting on the series. I always enjoy it. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Take care. See you next week. Hopefully, Christopher Hill. And as always, be safe out there.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Next up, we have Nide Kume for you, Alex.
Good race, everyone.
Well, Nide, good evening. How are you, buddy?
Good evening. Good evening. I'm good, guys.
Well,
how are you guys in the booth?
All good. Well, firstly, great race in race 2. You had a bit of a battle on your hands. You had your hands full of Keon Maduro for the majority of race 1. And we had a little chat with Keon just a few moments ago that he was in your ear saying, like, come on, we need to fuel save. And both you, Keon, and I think the remainder of the GT3 field, apart from Victor Aldridge, had to take a quick splash and dash. But still, you've picked up good points tonight. How are you feeling after that run here at Monza?
This is fun, especially the second one. The first one was interesting. I think kind of motivated me to push a lot for the second, just because Victor caught us by surprise with that masterclass in field saving, and we had to pit me and Keon because we had like very little fuel going into the last lap, but he came out of nowhere and took it. So going into the next race, I thought I need to save fuel, but I need to try to gain ground as well and keep that battle going with Keon. And I think it all worked out eventually.
Now, unfortunately for Keon, we lost him on lap 9. I think there was an incident involving him and Corey whilst they were trying to hunt you down a little bit. But still, I mean, you won by over 10 seconds. So a good haul of points here at Monza. And of course, we've got the series finale in a week's time at Sebring. How do you think the Ferrari's going to handle around there?
Well, I'm looking forward to that. Sebring is one of my favorite tracks. I love the bumps and the challenge it presents in general with the high-speed corners and all. So we'll see how that goes. I think the Ferrari will be able to handle it. The competition is what I'll be looking forward to. We'll see how Corey and Keon, who I've been battling with mostly, and Victor, who has also kind of been throwing us a curveball tonight. We'll see how all these drivers really come out on that night. But I think the field is really good. Everybody put on a good show tonight, and that is a bit of a motivation to come out and be faster for the last race, because these guys look really fast.
Definitely the case. I mean, obviously the bumps here on the older part of the circuit here at Monza have gotten your appetite whetted, ready for Sebring next week. But congratulations on the win in the feature here at Monza tonight on the penultimate round of ASRL. Before we let you go, Nide, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Firstly, I'd like to shout you guys out for obviously always putting on a good broadcast. You guys do a great job every week showing up and broadcasting our races. Thanks to all the drivers for doing an awesome job coming out and actually racing, giving their time to this game that we all love. And I want to thank my friends who have been supporting through the journey. My wife as well, who's patiently waiting for me to hop off the game. And Keon has really given me a run since I joined the league, and it's been interesting because I learned a lot from him with every race and every battle, and also general the organizers of the league. And thank you all, guys. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nide Kume. We look forward to catching up with you next week for the ASRL finale at Sebring. Well done tonight.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
last but by no means least, over to Sagar Bakshi, who's got Victor Aldridge standing by.
Now, Victor, come on. Now that the race is over, I think you can spill the beans. Did you put a little extra fuel in the tank, or what was the strategy during the feature or during heat number 1? How did you make it to the checkered flag without making that pit stop that everybody else had to do?
Yeah, I think I even surprised myself a bit on that one, guys. My crew chief here, Reese, she's my dog. She was over my shoulder and just telling me, go one more lap. You can do it. You can do it. And so just coasting into the corners, the braking zones, and just being easy on the gas, trying to short shift. And I noticed with like maybe 2 laps to go how close it was. And I was about 0.2 of a lap short. And so noticing that, I figured, all right, I can probably make another 1/10, like make it around Parabola, like just with 1/10 of a lap left, and then just coast the rest of the way. But just basically, I felt like Alexander Rossi at the Indy 500 on the last lap, just like 40% throttle or whatever, just barely making it through. I don't even know what that last lap time was, probably like a 240 or something, but it was slow, and I just made it enough that I kept the gap to whoever was inside. I think it was Keon, and just
kept it around 5 seconds.
Yeah. And I was even gonna think like, hey Chris, hey, give me a little push across the line here, but if it ran out, with that last corner, I don't know if I would have made it to the line before Keon. So it sputtered right as I crossed the line, so that was close.
Yeah, it looked like it was close from our perspective as well, because we could see you lifting and coasting in the corners, and Alex was commenting about the Delta just plummeting before our very own eyes. Yes, it was the likes of Keon Maduro trying to close down that gap after making that pit stop.
Yeah, one eye on the track and one eye on the relative. It was something, just like trying to manage both at the same time. Fortunately, I was able to make it work for the first one on the year. I was really excited for that. And Alexander Rossi, he's one of my favorite drivers of all time, and I take a lot of pride in that. Or not pride, but I really model myself after his driving a lot, I feel. And so getting a win similar to him and saving fuel, I really enjoyed that. That was cool.
That's great, Victor. Well, one for the history books, that's for sure. Anybody you want to shout out, or anybody you'd like to dedicate this win to tonight?
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for putting the show on, and Corey for putting the league together. It's a lot of fun, a lot of good guys here. We need to get some more drivers on the list, so hopefully they can see how good the racing is we have and just how fun it is. We just have a great group of drivers here, and it can only grow, I'm sure. So I'm just really thankful for everyone we get to race with, and all my teammates at Team Watson Racing, James Watson, Chris Hill, Dan Miglin. Again, thank my crew chief, my dog Reese here. She's got to run outside, so we'll go in a second. But also Dizzy V Designs. I do all my paint jobs, and Pandora's Arcade on YouTube. If you guys like watching sim racing, I do a lot of kind of sandbox stuff. So if you like watching legends like race current drivers, kind of sim race like spectated and broadcasted, I do that there on Pandora's Arcade, and go ahead and check that out.
Right on. Thank you very much, Victor Aldridge, for joining us here in the Racers Nexus broadcast booth. Have a great night, and as always, make sure you stay safe out there, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
And one more, we do have our fearless leader of Corey Rutherford joining us tonight as well. Mr. Rutherford, for Team Work in Progress, came home in 3rd during the feature race. Corey, words from the leader.
Overall, it's a fun track. I like Monza Combined. I think it's a fun track. It was fun drafting with Dan and Victor there that last race. I do have to do a public apology to Keon for spinning him in that last race. Definitely not my intention at all, but I overcooked it going into the corner trying to make a pass into the Parabolica. Overall, fun race, fun night.
It was a great race from our perspective, especially with the slipstream battles. Usually they're good coming out of Parabolica down towards turn 1. Tonight, they were absolutely fantastic to see the drivers slipstream battle for position, jossy up the standings. It was absolutely great, and I'm sure Alex feels similarly to my feelings tonight. Now, Corey Rutherford, how do you feel about P3 tonight? Overall, you're going close to finishing up the championship before we head to Sebring.
Yeah, overall, it was, overall good finishes. I think I might have gained a little bit of points on Keon over through the full night, but we'll see. Honestly, though, I'm pretty sure he's going to have it cemented after today's race. I'll have to do some math and see how the drop weeks will play into it, but I'm pretty sure he's got it clinched. But either way, it was fun.
That's great to hear. It's a challenge to climb back up, but the points, well, they're still undecided until the fat lady sings. Now, Corey Rutherford, anybody you'd like to thank or anybody you'd like to shout out on the evening?
I always got to shout out my family, my dad, my mom, my brothers, and all their support. Shout out to the other league admin, Brian, for all his help through the course of the season. Thank you for you guys for broadcasting week in, week out. And yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us in the Racers Nexus broadcast booth, Corey Rutherford. Have a great night, brother, and stay safe.
You too.
Now, Alex, closing thoughts on the MONZA combined layout and this wonderful race that we had tonight.
All I can say is when a race like that happens, folks, you know that there's always going to be exciting drama. I mean, I have to say, drive of the night for me, Victor Aldridge with his dog as the crew chief, saying, "Come on, you can just go that one more lap," and it was one of the most. I think, when you don't expect cars of like the GT3 nature to run out of fuel in a 20-minute sprint race, but considering the fact this circuit is double the length of the traditional Monza circuit that we'd normally go racing at, it was as I said, a 3000 IQ strat. There you go. But in the C7 Daytonas, we had a 3-wide battle for the race lead within the first opening 2 laps, and you hardly see that often. But it was like literally we were 3 wide, we were nearly 4 wide at one point. So yeah, you were talking about bingo cards. We had fuel strategy, that was one of my bingo card that got ticked. 3 wide, that got ticked. But yeah, I mean, Monza always delivers, no matter what format or what circuit variation you use here on iRacing, and it's a great way to lead us into the final round at Sebring next week.
Absolutely. You summed up this race perfectly, Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you alongside me. Now, thanks to the ASRL team, all good things have to come to an end, but we still have one more round in this championship. Join us next week for our round at Sebring, where the drivers are going to have to survive the bumps, and especially in the C7 Daytona prototypes, it's going to be a challenge to get through Sunset Bend fairly and cleanly, lap after lap. Again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's been a pleasure to be with you. I've been Sagar Bakshi. Joined with me has been Alex Goldschmidt on behalf of Racers Nexus broadcast. It's been a great time. Have a great night. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there. Goodbye for now.